I'm not me, Kevin. I'm not Graham Stephan. I'm not Neil McCoy-Ward. I'm not the whiteboard finance guy. I don't have this data, this analytics to show you about the housing market and finance and stock markets and give you guys these really beautiful charts. One thing I can tell you guys is I've been helping a lot of first-time home buyers for a lot of years now. I'm getting gray hair. I've had the experiences of helping people who able to get seller closing costs, who are able to use an FHA program to accomplish their goals. And I've seen the parents be happy for their kids, and this really beautiful thing. I've seen people who have great credit scores who are able to qualify by paying, they pay their own closing costs, but they got a pretty sweet deal off the price. They got $10,000-$20,000 off list price. All these beautiful first-time home buyer stories that are happening, all these beautiful first-time home buyer stories of triumph are slowly going away. What I'm noticing now in this market, and what I think will happen for the next foreseeable future, is concerning to me. And it should be concerning to you too. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you own a house, if you are thinking about buying one, if you're an investor, whatever your situation is, you're feeling something right now. And what you're feeling right now, if you've been aware of the market, is this intense desire to be a homeowner now, right? For some reason during coronavirus, where people thought the housing market was going to crash, the opposite happened, right? Sellers stopped selling, buyers wanted to buy, created this insane supply-demand situation where houses were selling much more than the value they were supposed to sell for. We're talking people waiving their appraisal contingencies, so that way whatever it appraises at does not matter, because they're going to force the value of that house to go higher, because now that new house will be a comp or comparable for that neighborhood, and now their neighbors are going to try to sell it for more, and it's further and further taking the ability for first-time home buyers to purchase away from them, stripping whatever chance that they had to become homeowners and stop renting. There's no more stories of triumph. For the last few months, if I have a buyer looking for closing costs, I simply can't help them. I simply cannot help them. 99 out of 100 times, we're going to get beat out by someone paying their own closing costs, or having someone that's going way above value that we can't even compete with. And on top of that, these sellers and listing agents have such a disgusting bias against FHA and VA buyers that as soon as you mention that you're FHA, they turn their nose up at you, because for some reason they believe, well, FHA, you didn't need that much to qualify for, so that won't work. I need to go with this conventional buyer that's putting 10-20% down, who's guaranteeing $5,000 above the price, who's doing all this, that, another. This isn't something new. California has been dealing this for a long time. You ask anyone from there or who's living there, they can't buy a house unless there's it's a two working household, unless they're super wealthy, or that's a 2-person working household that both of them are making pretty decent income. But unfortunately, it's starting to spread out, and slowly but surely, housing prices are increasing, and the first-time home buyer that we're used to seeing is going to be different. I'm really frustrated right now. It feels like it's like the death of the American dream here. Home ownership was something that could be obtainable to anybody. If you made some bad mistakes, as a young adult like I did, you got too many credit cards, you got care credit, you got all these things, you would be able to, fight and pay them off and get your credit higher, and with the little money you had, be able to qualify for something decent. For me, my wife, it was this house in Phoenix, 75th Avenue in Thomas. It was our first house ever. It was a little cute house, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. We bought it for $85,000. We were able to sell that house. You guys know the story already. 2 years later, made enough to pay off all of our debt and move to our second house. I get it. The market has to continue to go up and up and up, but it shouldn't go up and spike up. I'm very fortunate, and anyone who bought a house for the last, I want to say 10 years, maybe 8-9 years, are very fortunate too. As a matter of fact, we're spoiled. We were in a market that you could buy a house and 2 years later sell and make a profit, and you would be like, oh yes, I'm Mr. Trump over here, right? Thinking you're a real estate mogul and all this stuff. But it's not the case. We were just lucky. We were spoiled by a market that was recovering, right? And people started taking advantage of that. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, oh yes, this is all new. If 2020 housing market is a fire, 2018 and 2019, 2017, there were certain things that were throwing gas into a big pile of wood, and it was primed and ready for just a little spark for it to explode. What was that gas pouring in the wood? Well, to the people that I despise the most, and I might be upsetting some of you, but it's the truth: wholesalers and iBuyers. I don't have a problem with fix and flippers. That takes a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of investment to put your time and energy into buying a house. Maybe you found a good deal somewhere or an auction. You flip it, you remodel it, and you make some money and you move on. For those that don't know, wholesalers are these people who have capital somehow. I don't know how, or maybe that's a group of people that have capital, and they look for opportunities in the market where they can buy a house really, really affordable price. They buy it cheaper. Once they have it, they sell it just for another $20,000, $30,000. So maybe the margin's a little different in other markets, but here like 20 or 30. They might buy something for 150, sell it for 180. And the problem is that they're selling it to people with a dream, with these fix and flippers that are trying to become a lot more popular in the 2010s, right? This HGTV shows, inspired a lot of people to start flipping, and they sell their car, or they get a second mortgage to go try it. And when they find these houses that are supposed to be for investors, really it's just wholesalers that bought the property to sell for more. The first-time home buyer gets to pay the consequences of these greedy actions. And whatever, you investor types might be upset with me saying that, but I don't care. And because of that, there were certain prices, certain neighborhoods that were just rising a little faster than they needed to. Another culprit, like I was saying, is the iBuyer. iBuyer would, make it really nice and pretty to sell your house. Pick a date, pick a time. We'll buy it for good value. So they said. Then they show up and they discount it heavily with their inspection, and they charge you so many fees that you were better off selling it in a normal market. But anyways, you go through it, and then you see them sell it again literally a month later of $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 more than your house sold for. And they used to remodel it and make it nice and pretty, but I want to say the last few years, they literally just clean it and maybe fix a thing or two and put it back on the market. I feel like I'm ranting, and also I don't want to have this video go too long. It's kind of not really formatted, so I'm sorry if you stuck along. I feel really bad for first-time home buyers. Now I can say, well, it's not affecting me. I mean, it affects me. I'm a real estate agent. Sure, you can say that I'm doing this because it's harder for me. I don't care. But, I'm thinking about Javier and Mercy, my wife, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And what if I was born 8 years later? What if I was 19, 20 now, and now I want to buy my first house? I would be shit out of luck. And the truth is, there are hundreds of thousands of Javier and Mercies out there that are 19, 20 years old that are ready to buy their first house, and they're not going to be able to. In the meantime, first-time home buyers, stick in there, stay in there. Try to save up as much money as possible. Try to get your credit primed as much as possible. Buy when your budget's ready, and let's hope that things get adjusted pretty soon.